and welcome back to another edition of our Superintendent Update. I'm your host, Sydney Bowles, and it is a new school year, 2024-2025, and we're back with Superintendent Dr. Conti to talk about everything going on with the school district. Dr. Conti, thanks for being here.
Sydney, my pleasure.
How's your summer?
It was very busy, but very productive.
Because you work with, there's a lot of hiring to do, lots of facility stuff.
Yeah, a lot of new staff. We have 2 building projects underway, a lot of construction projects. So yeah, it's a busy time.
So the administration is located in the high school. I think most folks know that. How does it's day 2, Thursday, of the first week of school. How does it feel to have some life back in the building?
Oh, it's great. The energy is so phenomenal with young people, and some jobs have the same rhythm, but in education, you almost get a chance of renewal every year, which is really neat. So I never sleep the night before the first day. I mean, it's the same jitters all the time, and it's just a great energy.
That's fantastic. It's also a time for ironing out the details. There's lots of new, lots of transition. One of the details that I think is being worked out, it sounds like, is there's a new bus contract or an updated bus contract this year. And that's always a really big deal for families. So how's it been going?
Oh, I think we had a really rough start, but not atypically rough. And I think that there's been a lot of talk about it, and it always takes a couple weeks to iron stuff out. And we plan as much as we possibly can, but until the day of, until the buses are actually running, and there's a lot of other things we have to work out. I think what we're really trying to work on is our communication, because I think parents are understanding that there are going to be delays on the first day. Some parents are hugging, taking pictures. Next Thursday is the first day for kindergarten. The buses are always late that day just because of all the pictures. I think they're understanding. I think they just want to know as far in advance as possible. So if the bus company is communicating with us, that's great. And then we can communicate to parents. And some things just happen unexpectedly. So I ride a bus every first day, and the bus I was riding on, South Bedford Street was closed. And when we pulled up, there was a detour. We had to wait 10 minutes, and that's just kind of what happens. So, like I said, I think people are flexible, but they just want to know as quickly as possible, and we're working on that.
I mean, is it really just things happen, we gotta sort of work out the little challenges that you don't foresee, or are there things that need fixing?
Again, I think it might be a little bit of both. Some of the routes might need to be adjusted. We don't have a subscription service, so it's not like I'm subscribing to ride the bus. I have 4 kids. Here, some districts you have to pay for that service. We provide a service for everybody, so we're providing basically a general service. We try to get as much advanced information as to who's going to use the bus and who's not. But just because we're providing a general service and not a subscribe to service, which I think is the right thing to do, it always takes us a couple weeks to figure who's riding the bus and sort of fine tune it. So, it's again, I think if people accept that we have to run the buses before sort of fine tuning, I think people accept that traffic around town is changing. I think what we need to do a better job is just making sure people are aware of the changes as soon as possible, or even as they're happening, and I think we're working on that. There's a tracking system that is going to be sort of available in public, I think, next week, and it's not quite like Uber, so it's not like they'll be able to know exactly where the bus is, but they will be able to know when the bus is sort of passing certain landmarks, and it may help families plan better. We have to do some training, we have to do some outreach, but I think it's certainly can be frustrating, and I appreciate the frustration, but we're working on it.
Summer is also a really big season for buildings and grounds work, stuff you got to get done when there's not as many kids running around. So what's the update on some of the projects that were underway, that were funded at town meeting last time around, and that were worked on during the summer?
I think a lot of them were completed, and you should probably interview Bob for like details. They try to keep me out of their hair. The one I was sort of most concerned about would be the instructional the projects that affect instruction. So air conditioning at Pine Glen, I think, will be up and running by the end of next week. So I think all the installation is done. They were just completing some last minute wiring. And so I'm very excited to have that building air conditioned. I think that'll make a significant difference. And then I think a lot of the other projects were completed as well. Again, shout out to our custodial maintenance staff, who that's their season to really work hard. We had a summer help in. They were all very helpful. And a lot of our buildings have kids in them. So they're not just empty. So I think Memorial had, 400 students there between summer school and everything else. So that crew especially was working around students all summer.
Yeah, I mean, BCAT is here in the high school as well, and it was a bustling time too. There were always, facilities folks, maintenance folks running around doing all kinds of things, waxing the floors and all that stuff. It's a lot of stuff that really goes unsung to get everything spiffed up for the new school year.
Yeah, part of that new beginning.
Yeah. We are rapidly approaching September's town meeting, which is a big milestone for a project that's been underway for a long time, the Fox Hill Elementary School project. How are you thinking about that vote when 2/3 of town meeting will be asked whether or not, or it will need a 2/3 vote from town meeting to fund our portion of that project?
Right, so my job isn't to tell people how to vote. My job is to try to make sure we're presenting a quality product and as much information as people need to make that decision. So that's sort of my role in this. I think we've had great support from our OPM and our designer. Our OPM is Doran Whittier, our designer is Danisco. This is really my 3rd year involved in this project, from writing the program document all the way through sort of schematic design, feasibility schematic design, and yesterday morning the MSBA board approved our funding agreement. So we'll be going to town meeting in September with firm numbers, and the state is willing to commit about $30 million of the $100 million project. So building costs are very expensive. I appreciate that, but getting a new Fox Hill, which is a need, not a want, will never be less expensive than it is currently with this state funding that they've made available. And I think that speaks to the quality of the design and the project, and it also speaks to the need, because it's a very competitive grant program, and the state wouldn't have accepted Fox Hill into the program unless they felt the building really needed to be replaced.
Dr. Eric Conti, last couple of questions for you. You and I have talked over the last year or so about the effort to fill an open DEI position. That was the DEI instructional coach position, and that's now filled.
Yeah.
So talk about the initial conversations that you've been having with that new role.
Again, I think what we talked about is really focusing on the classroom experience for students, and that was sort of the missing piece from our look at the equity audit, that the district can have great policies in place, but if the students weren't feeling the impact of those policies and they experience school through curriculum and through the classroom. So I'm very excited to have Shannon Janovitz, who is the instructional coach at the high school, who is focusing on equity and incorporating that equity into the curriculum to make sure that kids are experiencing school in a way that's much more inclusive of sort of who they are, and they'll feel much more successful. So she's an outstanding educator. Again, I've worked in multiple states, and I would put her at the top of my list, and I think teachers trust her colleagues trust her, and so I'm really excited about her efforts. And this is not work that is done. Will be done on Monday. It's work that has to be continuous, and we have to continually support teachers as they develop their curriculum. And again, if they're impacting that student experience, then I think we'll have some success.
Okay. My final question, we are of course starting a new sports season as well. We've had athletes out on the fields, on the getting ready for all kinds of new sports. Any words of support for the upcoming season? Anything you're excited about?
I just want kids to be out there. We always say compete with character, and we have our annual Compete with Character meeting on Tuesday when the kids are back at 3 o'clock, and want them to compete hard and want them to represent the community and their families and the school well. And we're always so fortunate that our athletes do a great job of that. So the wins will come if they work hard and work together, and their coaches do a great job, so I'm excited.
Awesome. Superintendent Dr. Conti, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks, Sydney.
All right, that was another superintendent update. Thanks for tuning in.